He was 41 years old, working a job that paid $14 an hour, and every single morning he woke up in the same cracked apartment on Delmar Avenue and told himself today would be different. It never was. Maybe that's you right now. Different city, different face, same ceiling. Marcus Webb had been a night security guard at a warehouse on the south side of Cincinnati for 7 years. 7 years of cold coffee from a vending machine, 7 years of $14 an hour, 7 years of watching other people's cargo pass through his hands, other people's wealth, while he went home at 6 a.m. to an apartment where the heat had been broken since November. He wasn't lazy, he wasn't stupid, he just hadn't learned the one thing that separates the people who stay broke from the people who finally don't. But what happened next, nobody expected. Marcus was the kind of man who showed up exactly on time and stayed exactly until his shift ended. Not a minute early, not a minute late. He wore the same navy blue uniform 5 nights a week, the left sole of his boot held together with a strip of black electrical tape he'd wrapped around it back in March. His phone screen had a crack running diagonal from the top left corner, had been that way since his daughter Amara dropped it at her 8th birthday party 8 months ago. He never replaced it. Couldn't. Breakfast before his shift was usually a gas station egg sandwich, the kind wrapped in plastic, eaten cold in the car on Maplewood Drive because his building's microwave had stopped working too. Marcus had one flaw that his own mother had warned him about his whole life. His mother. Marcus, baby, you are too proud to ask for help and too stubborn to admit you need it. She was right. Marcus had turned down help from his brother twice, had refused a loan from his church, told people he was figuring it out, when really he was standing still. He wasn't lazy, he was proud, and his pride was costing him everything. The real reason Marcus couldn't sleep during his days off had a name: Amara. She was 9 now, smart, the kind of kid who asked questions that made you quiet for a minute before you answered. She went to a school where half her classmates had parents who were doctors or owned businesses. She never complained, never asked for anything. That silence was louder to Marcus than any argument. My daughter deserves more than electrical tape solutions. It happened on a Tuesday in January, 4:47 in the morning. Marcus was doing his rounds on the warehouse floor, cold concrete, the hum of the refrigeration units in Sector C, the smell of cardboard and machine oil, when his cracked phone lit up. A text from his daughter's school, a field trip to the Science Museum in Columbus. Cost, $45. Permission slip due Friday, $45. He stood in the dark between 2 rows of shelving units, 12 feet tall on either side of him, and he did the math. Rent was 4 days late. His car insurance had lapsed. He had $31 in his checking account and 6 days until payday. He couldn't do it. 7 years in this building, and I can't afford $45 for my daughter to see the solar system. He sat down on a pallet of shrink-wrap boxes, just sat there, in the dark, in his electrical tape boot, in the cold. He didn't cry. He just went quiet in a way that was worse than crying. And then something shifted. Not inspiration, not a lightning bolt, just a quiet, tired, bone-deep decision. Enough. He opened his cracked phone and typed 3 words into the search bar. How to earn more. That was it. That was where it started. Marcus had 8 hours left on his shift. He spent the last 3 hours of it reading, not scrolling, reading. He found a free course on graphic design on a website called Coursera. He found a Reddit thread from a guy who'd built a $2,000 a month freelance business designing logos from his phone, started while working nights at a hotel. He found a YouTube video from a freelancer who had started with 0 clients and built her business in 90 days by doing one thing every single morning. Learning one skill, one specific, sellable skill. Marcus almost put the phone away. His pride said, I'm 41, too late, someone else's story. But he kept reading, and he found one number that stopped him cold. 2 hours of focused learning per day equals 730 hours per year. That's 18 full work weeks, almost 5 months of skill building without quitting your job. In 1 year, a person can go from beginner to professional level in almost any digital skill. 730 hours. Marcus had been spending those same 730 hours watching TV, scrolling his phone, and sleeping in on his days off. I haven't been broke because of bad luck. I've been broke because I've been standing still. That morning, before he drove home, Marcus sat in his car in the warehouse parking lot and wrote 3 things in the Notes app on his cracked phone. 1. Wake up at 6 a.m. every day, off 2 hours of learning before Amara wakes up. 2. Finish the graphic design fundamentals course in 30 days free Coursera. 3. Build 3 practice projects, post them on a profile, and reach out to 5 small businesses per week. No coach, no mentor, no gym membership or self-help book. Just a cracked phone, a parking lot, and a plan. 3 weeks later, 5:58 a.m. The kitchen window in Marcus's apartment glowed orange-pink with early light. Amara was still asleep. The apartment was cold. The heat was still broken. Marcus sat at the kitchen table with a cup of actual coffee made at home and opened his laptop. A second-hand Chromebook he'd bought for $80 at a pawn shop on Vine Street. He was on lesson 14 of 22. He was ahead of schedule. By week 5, Marcus had finished the course. He'd built 3 sample logos, one for a fictional bakery, one for a barbershop, one for a youth basketball league. His brother Darnell looked at them and went quiet for a second. Darnell, man, when did you learn how to do that? Marcus had smiled at that. First time in a long time. He'd sent his first 5 cold emails to small businesses in his neighborhood. No response. Sent 5 more. One replied. A woman who owned a hair salon on Reading Road needed a new logo and a simple flyer. She offered $80. $80 for 4 hours of work on his days off. It wasn't life-changing money, but it was his. He'd earned it with a skill. Not his back, not his time in a cold warehouse. A skill. Week 7, his manager called him into the office. Budget cuts. The warehouse was downsizing overnight security. Marcus's position was being eliminated in 30 days. He drove home in silence. Sat in his parked car outside his building for 11 minutes. I knew it. Every time. Every time something starts to work, gone. He had $190 in the bank. One client. 30 days. He could panic. He could call his brother and borrow money and go find another $14 an hour job and start the cycle again. Or he could choose something different. He opened his Chromebook. It was 2:14 in the afternoon. He emailed 12 businesses. That night, he stayed up until 1 a.m. finishing a logo for his salon client. He invoiced her the next morning. He refused to stop. The next 3 weeks were the hardest of his adult life. And not in a motivational poster way, in a real way. He applied to 4 other night jobs as a backup, got 2 callbacks, took 1 interview. Meanwhile, he was sending 10 cold outreach emails a day, revising his portfolio, watching YouTube tutorials on typography at midnight, and raising Amara on the days her mother worked. He ate a lot of peanut butter sandwiches. He wore his electrical tape boot to 2 more client meetings. He didn't care. By the end of week 9, he had 4 clients, a barbershop, a food truck, a church, and a real estate agent who wanted business cards and a 1-page website. He'd made $640 in 30 days from design work, not enough to live on, but enough to know it was real. The old Marcus would have said, $640 is nothing. Look at where you are, still behind. The new Marcus said, $640 is proof. You built that. Nobody handed you that. He realized the difference between people who escape being broke and people who don't wasn't talent or luck or connections. It was whether they chose to build something, any something, on the hours they'd been wasting. He chose to build. One Saturday morning, Amara found him at the kitchen table, eyes red from being up late, a half-finished logo on the screen. Amara, Daddy, what are you making? Marcus, something that's going to get you to that science museum, and every field trip after that. She looked at the screen for a long moment. Amara, it looks really good, Daddy. He closed the laptop and made her breakfast. 1 year after that Tuesday night in the warehouse, Marcus Webb's life was unrecognizable, not in a fantasy way, in a real Tuesday morning way. He no longer worked nights in a warehouse. He was freelancing full-time as a graphic designer, earning an average of $3,200 a month, more than twice what he'd made as a guard. He'd taken 3 more Coursera courses. He'd raised his rate from $80 to $350 per project. The heat in his apartment had been fixed since August. Amara went to the Science Museum. She also went to a coding camp that summer, $380. He paid it without checking his bank account first. He still drove the same car, still used the same Chromebook, still ate at home most nights, but his daughter's silence was gone, replaced by questions he actually had the space to answer. He didn't win because someone discovered him. He didn't win because the market shifted in his favor or because a lucky break fell out of the sky. He chose, in a cold warehouse at 4:47 in the morning, to stop standing still. He chose it when he was $31 in his account. He chose it when he lost his job. He chose it when he was eating peanut butter sandwiches and wearing electrical tape boots to client meetings. He chose it when it made no sense to choose it. And that is exactly why he deserved it. Marcus never read a self-help book. He never had a mentor. He never attended a seminar. He just realized sitting in the dark between 2 rows of shelving that his money problem and his time problem were the same problem. He had been spending 730 hours a year on nothing, not because he was broken, Because nobody had shown him what 730 hours could build. Now he knew. The warehouse didn't change. The neighborhood didn't change. Marcus decided to change. That was the whole story. Tonight, not tomorrow. Tonight, open your phone and write down one skill. One specific skill you could learn in 30 days if you gave it 2 hours a day. Graphic design, copywriting, video editing, Excel. One thing. Then start tomorrow morning, not next Monday. Tomorrow, 7:30 hours is waiting for you on the other side of that.